So in this video, we're going to talk about a fairly basic question. And the question is, what do I do after an accident? What should I not do? Are there things that I can do or not do that will prejudice me? So we're going to talk about that for a minute. It's a good question. We get asked that a lot. Assuming it's an auto accident, which again is the vast majority of our practice. We'll talk about other injuries in a minute, but after an auto accident, there are some very typical things that happen and opportunities that come. First of all, obviously, I shouldn't have to say this. If you are in pain, if you're having problems, see a doctor, see someone. The insurance companies expect you to, unfairly. And most of us want to get better, we want to be better, but if you have any reservations about how you're feeling, how you're doing after an accident, see somebody. Doesn't have to be the ER, doesn't have to be the ambulance, it could be a family doctor, whatever's easy for you, but that is important. The second thing I would tell you is the insurance companies, particularly the at-fault party's insurance company, is going to want a very lengthy statement from you as to how this happened. You do not have to do that. You do not. A lot of people believe they do. You do not. You will be pressured. You will be called repeatedly. Do not do it. You've heard the criminal phrase, which is anything you say or anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Same thing here. Your statements, especially when they're recorded, can be used later against you. You don't want to do it. It doesn't add anything. It doesn't help anything. They are locking in your words now so that it can be used against you later. That is the only purpose of these statements. They won't tell you that. They'll be very friendly and very concerned about how you're doing, but do not do it. You have no obligation to talk to the liability insurance, period, unless you're trying to resolve your property damage through them. Aside from that, you shouldn't be talking to them until you know what you want to do. The other thing I would tell you to do, and this sounds unusual, I've had people look at me strange, like I'm a sleazebag when we do this, is photos of injuries. And the reason that's important, it's really important for a lot of reasons. Insurance companies, once you get into a litigation with them, they don't talk so much about how the crash happened. They do a little bit, but assuming that this was clearly not your fault, the real fight is over your injuries, whether this car wreck caused them, and whether they were there before this ever even happened, pre-existing conditions. That is where these cases are won and lost. And so, for example, let's say you have some prior knee issues, but you've always managed it. Let's say you're involved in a car crash, that knee hits the dash, and 2 weeks later you have to have arthroscopic surgery. Looks like you tore some ligaments. The insurance company will want to see photos of the bruising to the knee. And if you have a photo of the bruise to the knee, you have essentially proven your case. And a lot of people don't think to take photos. That's the last thing you're thinking about. But in terms of documenting injuries, documenting trauma to the body, which can later explain why you may not be recovering from that shoulder injury or that knee injury or that hip injury, those photos can be crucial. And in more severe cases, cases where individuals have been involved in terrible crashes or in ICU, I've met with families, they're unrecognizable. And 2 years later, we're in a trial or we're at a mediation trying to settle the case, and the person looks great. And you have no idea what they've been through, no idea the suffering that they went through unless we had that photo. So it's very important. You also, one other thing you may want to consider, photos of the vehicles themselves. Many times the police will take photos, but many times they do not. So if you can get photos before those vehicles are taken away, if there's any kind of liability dispute at all, it will help you. The last thing I would tell you is if you're not recovering, if you're not doing well, talk to an attorney. Talk to somebody. It doesn't have to be me, but at least figure out what your rights are. I think a lot of people, I've heard this lately, that we're just afraid to talk to the attorney. We're afraid to talk to them. You must know some really mean attorneys. I know some too, but I'm really not mean, and I know some other guys and gals that aren't mean. And there's a lot of attorneys out there that really just want to help you help yourself. So if you're in that situation, don't hesitate to call somebody.